Hi, this is Homay from Spitfire Audio, and I've put something together for you using the Haunted House library that we've created with Darkstar, who actually an electronic music duo. But I'm really excited to kind of bring it over into the context of TV music, or at least give it sort of that feel. And before I go into it, I just want to show you quickly the GUI, just to give you an overview of what sort of sounds you can expect. We have synth sounds, various voices that have been processed. Further down, you get some sounds that have been recorded in London within the city. There are some rhythmic elements in there with some drum loops, and then also some extra warped sounds that the team has put together using sounds from Darkstar. And here I'm using the Control Freak, but usually at home I'm using from Korg the Nano Control 2 to work with the faders. And on the left-hand side, you have expression as normal. And on the right-hand side is a little bit different this time. It will change the processing of individual sounds, which I'll show you when I go through the individual patches that I've loaded up. Over here you have attack, release, reverb, delay. You don't have it on this patch particularly, but other patches you get stretch sound, and then further down you have flanger function as well. So let's see what you think before we going into dissect it. Alright, so this piece is actually based on a couple of chords that I kept playing in the Darkstar walkthrough next door, and I wanted to develop it. So it started with these. Just gonna use a different sound for that. So you have an E flat minor and then a D at 11 with a G flat in there, I believe. And the idea was to have these at the very end of the piece, something to work towards, make these really big and louder. And whilst I kept playing with these, I added a couple of chords as well. So it goes. So again, starting with the E flat major 7th, but then going to a D minor at 7 using the F as the bass, then going down to the C, playing a C minor 7 at 9, and then finally arriving at the D11 with the G flat and a bass. So just a little detour, but I have now a goal to work towards. So let's start from the beginning. First one is this SOM2. Let's turn this off first. And then to demonstrate this fader that I mentioned earlier that changes the processing, I kept it really close as it is right now. And then slowly I was just sort of developing the processing by just going up. Has sort of a fainter quality to it. And whilst I do this slowly throughout this little bit that I've played in here, I also wanted, rather than being kind of put in its place at the moment, I've added some tremolo to it, just for it to move around a bit. This one goes over 2 bars, and I just turned it down a little bit so it's like 73% depth. Additionally, I added the echo delay here, put on 8th notes, and opened it up together with some reverb. I added a really long tail with using a lexicon reverb. So it has this lovely tail. It comes in together with the Ecstasy mantra sound. And if we look at the GUI, I turned up the release and the reverb for this one and played in a pulsing line. And on this one, I also added some tremolo because I wanted to increase the tempo of the pulse. This time it's on 16th note with a hard panning. And if we look into automation, I also automated it to slowly fade in. This keeps on going in the background. So you have this together so far. And on top of that, I'm playing in this arpeggiated line. And again, using the fader that uses the processing amount. So I have that creeping in throughout. And if we look up here, I'm using these various bass sounds. Let's play them to you individually as well. Again, using delay for these as well. These won't go on for a while, really slow and steady, just keeping bubbling away in the background just to have a sort of base from which I can work off and build on. Maybe an airy texture that comes in together. So here I have another patch. That does exactly that. Again, I'm using the Lexicon reverb with this long tail there as well. Here I'm introducing another patch, and I've actually used a stretch function for that one. Usually the preset is set up to here. And I'm really loving what it does here. The other couple of sounds that are grayed out here, I'm just going to play them quickly to you too. Just another one that kind of highlights the beginning of each bar. And this one down here is actually meant to be the continuation of the first sound I had. So it doesn't drop out completely. I'm just continuing with it further down. This is also the spot where I wanted to make it a little bit contextual using the intimate string patch from our original series and just come in with a melody. I'm just going back a little bit because you noticed the sound I've just played to you is sort of dropping out, going a little bit further down in range, but giving space for the melody to come in. First just playing this one line and then doubling it up in octaves and playing a variation on the first phrase. There's a couple more sounds that are coming in. The idea was to have something really solid and steady go throughout, as the tracks are doing up here, and then other sounds kind of fluidly coming in and out, whilst also sort of changing the processing as I'm doing with this fader, or doing other things that are coming in with other sort of plugins I'm using, like the tremolo. These two sounds, similar to the one I've used here, just sort of an airy sound coming in between the two phrases I've played with the strings. You can see over here, I've just panned them on harder to the left and to the right. So they're kind of just moving from one side to the next. I'm just going to solo that out. Down here I have one called SE Serenade 1. really enjoy the quality of this sound with all these little textures in there. Here's another arpeggiated line that is coming in. Just changing octave. And the octave change is together with the next phrase coming in with the strings down here below. Just to solo this one out as well. Show you as many sounds of this library. Again, another sound of which I really enjoy the quality when you stretch it a little bit. So this would be. And the notes with this sample actually worked out really nicely. This also comes in at the same time with the change in the bass note, where I'm just briefly going down to the C from the D, just to keep a little bit more harmonic intrigue. Before it sort of goes back and kind of trundles along towards the later sections when we want to bring in the chords. However, I'm trying to bring in some other elements to pick up the pace a little bit to work on this build. So over here, I'm just having the sub-low London 2 sound, slowly fading in. Keeping it simple, but just trying to add some extra layers. Here, for example, I'm doing a very similar thing. These are all the same sounds, but what I'm doing with these two, especially here, again, I've kind of panned them hard left and hard right. And slowly I'm using the processing fader to just open up kind of throughout. I just want to make sure everything is sort of in motion. Everything keeps sort of slightly changing as much as I can. So this is it with it down. I don't want to miss out this one though. And I kind of really like this combination here. And so coming to bar 43, here we want to drive it a little bit more, adding a couple more harmonies there, a few more simple sort of short notes that are being added, as I said, with the mus bass over here, and picking up the pace with that. Here I played in another arpeggiated line. And just quickly, I just was mimicking what the strings were doing over here together with this sound. And then you probably heard the little crescendo within the strings here, because we're finally getting to these 4 chords that I played at the beginning. We're sort of getting to the place where we have this release of the piece. It's been sort of plodding along really nicely, but here it's finally getting to where we wanted to get to. I'm just going to play you these individual sounds. This is where I'm finally changing from the short notes to just sustained long bass sounds. So I have this combination here. They're really nice and subby, but they also have these higher frequencies in there, making them really useful in an harmonic context. This one I've just played in. And then just quantized it, this one over here. It has a lovely organ quality to it. Then further down. A sound that continues to pulse, again using the tremolo just to keep it moving. These ones are the arpeggiated sounds that you've heard earlier. And let's play that all together. Again, having a little ramp at the end with the strings, and then just a singular sound over here, just letting it fade out. And just having a last look at the mixer. I'm not using that much, mostly tremolo on a few ones of these, just to keep it moving, and then also the echo from Logic and the Lexicon reverb. Alright, so having took through that, let's just have a last listen. Alright, so this is just one of many ways you can use this library. I hope this gave you a good overview of what you can do with these sounds, what they sound together or even individually. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you in the next one.